Dispatch all biters. My quest to free the country of zombies. By Mystic Alchemist. Copyright 2020 Mystic Alchemist. All rights reserved. Written in Australian English. This book is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places and incidents are either a product of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual people living or dead, events or locales is purely coincidental. Chapter 12. New Axe. We didn't see and we didn't hear it until it was almost up to us, Nigel pumping the brakes hard and everyone nearly through the windscreen. We didn't try to run away, all three of us clambering to get on the tray out back and trying to work how to make that big gun work while the wind of the helicopter was trying to flatten us down. So black we couldn't really see exactly where the juddering monster was, but Nigel had an arm pointing up and I had the weapon pointed the same way. At the control end of the gun there were two handles almost like towel holders, only made small to only fit one hand around them. I felt with my fingers and found a metal lever that I poked every way. Nothing happened. I know, Geraldine yelled, "Let me try." I let go of the handles and she took hold, her body high enough to easily aim the big gun up. Rat-a-tat. Rat-a-tat. The gun was blasting, the noise deafening and the whole tray of the truck shaking with each shot. I could see sparks in the sky above us. Some shots were striking their mark. Then there was shooting back from above. Bright red clouds pulsing out and I could hear metal dings around. Then that shooting stopped, but Geraldine didn't, turning that big gun from side to side and up and down, making sure she hit something. Then the shooting stopped even though she was still pressing whatever she did to make it go. Out of bullets, she yelled, "Run!" "I'm hit," Nigel yelled above the mechanical racket above us. "My leg. Can't move." He was lying on the tray, hand trying to stop the blood leaking from his pants. "I'll lift you," I yelled back, "you keep holding your leg." I was discovering that moving a wounded man was much harder in real life than in a game when Geraldine yelled, "It's crashing." It was too. The helicopter had moved away from us and there were flames shooting out the back. This one crashed like it should have, a huge ball of orange flame and a pleasing whoosh as it was completely covered with fire. "That's the best yet," Geraldine said. "See if you can get the flashlight," I asked, and she disappeared over the side of the tray. I won't need to try to move Nigel after all. With some light I could see the problem, a bullet straight through his leg. 2 wounds, front and back, but off to one side, so it most likely missed most of his bone. There was plenty of blood around sticking to everything. "See if you can find any bandages," I said while I tried to get his pants off so we could treat the wound properly. "She'll see me without pants," Nigel said as I got him to wriggle from one side to the other while I worked his pants down bit by bit. Geraldine returned with a tin box covered with a green cross. "I'll try not to stare at your bits," she said laughing. She was good therapy. Not much in that box that were suitable, apart from 2 rolls of bandage and a half-used roll of sticky plaster tape and a small packet labeled antiseptic for wounds. She also brought a part-used packet of tissues, so I started with them to clean the blood from the first wound, the one in front of his leg higher up than the behind one. First I sprinkled a little of the antiseptic powder that made Nigel call out in pain when it contacted his flesh, then wrapping one of the rolls of bandage material around the wound and then used the sticky tape to hold it in place. Then it was the same on the one lower down on the back of his leg. He didn't call out so much when I added the powder this time. He was trying to stand when I'd finished, but he was yelling so much when he was halfway up that I stopped trying to help him up and settled him back down to recover. "I found more bullets for the machine gun," Geraldine the Brave said. "There's 2 boxes of it. Hold that light up and I'll try to work out how to change it," Nigel said, panting as he spoke. Under Geraldine's guidance he explored the gun, pushing and pulling the bits she told him while he tried to work out how it worked. I took the chance to look at my own leg, but I left my pants on. A little of that antiseptic powder and a tight bandage didn't stop the throbbing, but did make the wound look better. Then it was looking around the truck for damage. Not good. There were bullet holes in the bonnet and through the cab. The dash was shattered and there were piles of wires split around near the steering wheel. I didn't bother trying to make it start. We were back to going nowhere in a hurry, especially with Nigel's leg. Rat-a-tat. The gun worked. I ran back to see two very happy questers. We can still blast them, Geraldine the Brave said happily. He's a great mechanic. We didn't even have some enemy dead to get their clothes, and there was nothing in the truck to help us keep warm. The best we could do was have Geraldine and me to sit tight each side of Nigel to try to keep him warm. You might have to go on without me, Nigel said after we'd snuggled like that a while. We need you, Geraldine said instantly. We've got this far, I said, we can't separate so close to our goal. Let's hope the next vehicle has more food and water. They must seriously want us dead, Nigel said, 2 helicopters and 2 trucks down. They won't stop until they get us. That's if they've got more to send, I said. There must be houses somewhere, Geraldine said. She's right, Nigel said, we could get supplies there. As soon as it's light we'll look, I said, let's build our strength now. I think we all slept some part of the night, but by first sight of dawn I was up looking at the scene around us. The helicopter was a blackened pile of bits on a bare field away from the roadway, definitely nothing to salvage there. Nothing other than more fields behind us, but ahead held more prospects. Possibly a grove of trees in the distance, and that could only mean a house sheltered beneath them. Nigel managed to stand, but the moans he was making were nearly as bad as a zombie. It was obvious he was not fit to walk any distance. I'll show what to do to try to start this truck, he said looking through the cab rear window. I got down to follow his directions. I'd thought nothing would happen, and there were no lights or gauges working on the smashed dash, but when I turned the key the motor made noises of starting. Keep trying, he said, and I did, to end up with a working engine, but it didn't sound as smooth as I thought it should be. Drive off quickly. It won't last for long. I tried to find the gears button on the dash. I poked where he said and the truck began to move. With the others still on the tray, I drove off gently. The noises coming from the truck were not sounding too healthy, and the steering needed a lot of pressure to turn, but we were moving. There was a huge crash behind my ear and I turned to see both the others up at the rear window that was now in pieces, the broken glass making it easier for me to hear their instructions. Nigel gave me another button to press labeled 4WD, but that made the whole truck shudder like it was about to explode. I pressed the original button he had told me and it settled down a bit. We're doing good, Nigel said, but those trees still looked a long way away. The engine stopped with one grinding thump in the very center of the highway. It didn't feel good, but those trees were closer. Definitely close enough for me to walk to. You two stay here and work the big gun and I'll try to walk to find some help. You'll need weapons, Geraldine the Brave said. I've got the pistol and a knife in my pants. I'll be back soon. I tried to jog away, but that didn't last for long. I tried to not think of them, but the more I tried to think of what was ahead, the more I thought of them. They had become more than people I met on the trip, now they were family and all I wanted was to keep them safe. That had me trying to jog again, and then the realization that there was indeed a house amongst those trees kept my legs jogging beyond the point I should have stopped, leaving me bent over panting when I came to the driveway into the house. Waiting to recover gave me time to look harder at the house. Typical farmhouse with farm shed behind and farm tools scattered around the yard. Even a tractor. Transport was my immediate task and there were 2 old trucks parked like they might work, so that's where I made for first. The first one had no side windows, and no key inside. A switch lever hanging loose amongst some wires dangling under the dash offered the way to start. I tried the switch and I had a motor running. Now I needed gears, but there was no gear stick alongside the seat. I found it alongside the steering wheel pole, and it had a worn diagram of what gear was where. I couldn't find reverse, but I did get it to work forward, except there was a fence ahead of me, so I really needed reverse. Or did I? I made the motor go more and let go the clutch. The truck shuddered and took off toward the fence. Just like in the movies, the fence fell over when I hit it, but unlike the movies, some of the wires of the fence were left stuck in the front of the truck and were dangling along behind me. The truck still moving, so I kept going, now steering toward the gateway to the highway and then turning toward where we'd set off from, the fence's wires rattling behind. "You didn't need to bring half the farm too," Nigel said, him and Geraldine laughing at my situation. "Get inside and let's get out of here," I said. "My big gun," Geraldine the brave said. "That lever there," Nigel said, and I worked the lever he said and lifted the heavy gun off its pole, then struggled it to the back of this new truck while Geraldine brought the extra box of ammunition. Nigel was harder than the gun to move, but the two of us did get him into the passenger seat while Geraldine took the tray. Nigel was able to tell me how to find reverse, and that left most of the wire back on the roadway and made it easier to get back to that farm. "I'll check for undead," I said when we stopped. "Geraldine will help me get a better vehicle going," Nigel said as I began to investigate the farmhouse. There was an axe stuck into a large circular trunk of timber. Someone was using it for a chopping block, but that axe was stuck in hard and took a good effort to work it out. It was not as good as my old one, the handle was bent and the head not so heavy and narrower. I shouldn't complain, at least it was lighter and easier to swing. Knocking on the door brought no results and the door was unlocked and I had an axe. I went inside. Not hissing and moaning but definitely something. "Hello? Anyone there?" Scampering noises ahead, and before I could lift my axe, something small and fast and furry ran between my legs and disappeared outside the house. I needed to lean against the wall a moment to let my legs get solid again. Cat. Poor thing had been shut inside for maybe days. Leaning there I saw the blood and that had me alert again. A large streak of dried blood ahead on the floor, as though someone had been dragged around the room. Beyond was another streak on the wall. Axe on alert, I quickly investigated every room. No one, dead or alive, but another streak of blood. I knew what I was looking at now and the idea made my blood boil. Nothing I could do now, but I would make them all pay. The rest of my life, however short it might be, would be devoted to making those who did this pay. Down to work, searching for useful items. Men's clothing. They looked about Nigel's size, so pants and a couple of tops, then towels for cleaning and bandages. Tins of beans and peas and fish from the pantry as well as jam and cereal. Even a couple of spoons and a can opener. Hardly any water, just a couple of cans of soda and one large bottle of some diet drink. I thought I should check on the others before I did more, and went out with the clothing so Nigel didn't have to get around pantless. "The only truck that works is the one you used," Geraldine said, laughing when she saw the pants. "Hope he likes the color." Nigel didn't mind the color, but watching him trying to get into them showed how bad his leg still was. "We'll need to get the rest of that wire off that truck," he said in my direction. "We'll look for a better truck in the next town," I said, making my way back into the house to get the rest of the supplies. "We should get as far away from this last truck as we can now." Three of us across the bench seat of this old truck, Nigel yelling beer, changing instructions, and Geraldine opening cans and us sharing them spoonful for spoonful. The wind blasting through the missing side windows and us all hoping we struck no one else until we increased our weapon supply.